1,500 to the department or to the Division of Vocational Rehab. That that number is probably not all going to be served by DVR, but they'll all be seen and evaluated to see if they're appropriate. A number of other people went to other rehab services like Goodwill. And we have another round of this review, as Robin mentioned, another about 1,200 in our region. And I think it's, what is it, statewide, 3,000 or something? Okay. In the first year. So we're scrambling to find the reviewers that we haven't burned out to try to do the rest of them. One of the concerns that most of you have had as advocates is how will the people know that they're going to be terminated or could be subject to termination if they're not disabled, can't find another program that they fit on. And we have sent, for the first 2/3 of the reviews, we sent them a short notice saying we didn't find that you were disabled. It wasn't really it didn't have a very full explanation of what the situation was, and didn't give their fair hearing rights and that kind of thing. So we're right now running a new notice past the Assistant Attorney General, and I'm told that this notice is going to be ready in about 2 weeks or less. I thought it might be ready by today, but these things, I guess, take some deliberation. And so it'll probably be like a 1.5-page notice. And in addition to the notice about your rights and options, there will be some resource information. This is editorializing, my personal opinion is 211 is a great resource, and it's the one that's kept up to date the most. So if people can utilize that, if they're able to, it's a wonderful way to find out what's available. And it's usually up to date, so we don't have to worry about the paper getting old. I thought you might be interested in kind of a visual comparison of the different amounts of clients that are on the different parts of the program. The yellow bar there is the total Disability Lifeline caseload. That includes the next bar over, which is those clients who used to be called formerly known as GAU, who are just about a little over 20,000. Of those who are just Disability Lifeline, plain and simple, those who were reviewed and found not to be disabled and who are getting to the over 20-month stage, there's only about 2,700 of those statewide at this point. And then next to that, the kind of maroon are the what used to be called GAX, DLX now. Looks like about 16,000 of those. And then the red one is the other clients that I mentioned that are aged, blind, or disabled and not subject to the time limits. So again, Robin went through most of these changes. We've published the CD treatment requirements in WAC and policy, and they're being implemented. The SSI facilitation remains a really high priority for us, both in the contracting and within the department. And statewide, we had an uptick again in June for the number we did, 1,500 new applications for SSI last month. Continuing to negotiate regarding the SSI and the medical evaluation with the managed care people. Continuing to do case planning. There's always been an emphasis on case planning and trying to help people learn to transition if they're able to move beyond GAU or DL. But the problem is that you want to catch the people on the front end to make sure they get benefits, and sometimes that leaves the people on the back end with less service. And with budget reductions, staff reductions, caseload increases, that has sometimes been pushed to the side. The law requires us to do this before termination, so we're going to have to do it. Housing resources continues to be an issue to be solved between DSHS and the Department of Commerce. So I had about 3 main thoughts about what challenges we might be facing. And I'm sure you'll have a lot more thoughts, but just to get it started, in Seattle we had 930 people that we did find not disabled, and so they will be subject to termination beginning in September. It's a little bit less than 1,000, because again we had a little bit more disabled in our area. Another challenge that we've talked about in some recent meetings is the issue of how to identify people that are being affected and how to share data without violating confidentiality. We'd like to be able to figure out what the trends are for the Disability Lifeline clients that are either being served or being terminated, and where are the gaps and how to coordinate services. But because, I could receive information from you guys and process it, but you'd have to get a release. Or I could send you a list of clients, but all those clients would have to sign a release for me. Now, we do have the Washington State Public Policy Institute. I'm not sure if I'm getting their name exactly right. It's supposed to be evaluating this, but I expect they may not have early findings, so we might need to try to encourage them to try to give us some early findings so we know where the gaps are. And then the other issue, of course, is housing, and whether or not people such as Plymouth Housing that rely on rent from DL, whether they'll be affected, and also just the overall demand for services for housing might increase as a result of some of the terminations. So that's all I got.